Mexico doesn't have a yellow filter on it, but when paired with China, it could give the US the blues. Howdy folks, welcome to the Wild West. And no, I'm not talking about a remastered Clint Eastwood flick. This is the global economic landscape we're facing today.
Wait, are there tumbleweeds involved? I've always wanted to see a tumbleweed.
Well, Chrono, it's not exactly like that, but we do have a whole lot of economic tumbleweeds. You see, just like the Wild West, our current world economy is full of challenges and opportunities, not to mention enough drama to fill a spaghetti western.
You had me at spaghetti.
And just like the Wild West, the world economy is undergoing massive change. Think of it kind of like the gold rush, but instead of prospectors and miners, we have corporations and economies in a race for the golden opportunities that globalization brings.
So, no gunfights at the OK Corral then?
No, Chrono, it's a different kind of showdown. We're talking about trade wars, shifting economic power, and new frontiers in the global market. It's way more exciting than horses falling over and people doing terrible fake deaths. It's a wild ride, and just like the Wild West, the ones who adapt and make the best of these changes will strike gold.
Well, I've got my cowboy hat and spurs ready. Let's saddle up and see where this trail leads us.
For years, China has been the world's manufacturing powerhouse, producing everything from toothpicks to high-tech electronics. It's like the global flea market, but without the haggling.
Wait, you mean my favorite owl-themed gadgets are made in China?
Yeah, Chrono, just like pretty much everything else. But this domination comes with its own set of challenges. China's economic policies have shaped global supply chains. When China sneezes, the world catches a cold. And not just a cute owl-sized cold, but a monstrous, woolly mammoth-sized flu.
I don't even want to imagine what that feels like. Ugh.
But there's more. Consider the potential risks. Imagine the chaos if there was a blackout or, heaven forbid, an invasion of Taiwan, a crucial hub in the global semiconductor industry.
That would be like game over, wouldn't it?
Yes, Chrono, it would indeed be a significant disruption. The impact would ripple through everything from smartphones to electric vehicles. It's a delicate, interconnected web. So let's dive into the rise of Mexico. Yeah, you heard me right, Mexico. Our neighbor to the south is emerging as a viable alternative to China for manufacturing. With its large labor force, relatively low wages, and oh-so-convenient proximity to the US, Mexico is becoming a hot ticket for manufacturers looking to diversify their supply chains.
So you're telling me that instead of shipping stuff halfway around the globe, we could just drive it across the border? And here I thought humans were supposed to be the smart ones.
Yeah, me too, Chrono. And this isn't just about geography. Since 2021, Nuevo León, a state in Mexico, has attracted nearly $7 billion in foreign investment, out of which 30% was from Chinese companies alone.
I guess I better start brushing up on my Spanish then.
Did you know that China has become Mexico's 9th largest investor since 2005, with a staggering $4.1 billion invested? In 2021 alone, Chinese and Hong Kong-based companies invested $606.3 million in Mexico.
Ay caramba, that's a lot of tacos.
Indeed, Chrono, but it goes beyond tacos. In 2017, Huawei secured a contract to provide equipment for Mexico's communications network. However, they were restricted from supporting the system's core and areas near the US border.
Kind of like a Great Firewall of Mexico?
Well, Huawei didn't stop there. They initiated tech infrastructure projects in 3 northern Mexican cities in 2018. Moreover, a joint project worth $1.2 billion in Nuevo León, involving 20 Chinese businesses and Mexican counterparts, is underway.
They mean business, not just tequila.
I'll drink to that, Chrono. In 2020, the Chinese Development Bank announced a $600 million investment in Mexico's largest state-controlled refinery. These Chinese investments are not just luck. Some speculate it's part of a larger strategy to enhance China's regional economic influence, bridging the gap to the US geography.
A game of risk, I see. But why Mexico, not a direct investment in the US?
Well, Chrono, factors like US-China trade tensions and supply chain disruptions during the pandemic may have prompted Chinese companies to invest more in Mexico. China's share of foreign direct investment in Mexico is rising quickly, though relatively small.
While the US and China were battling it out, China decided to picnic in Mexico's backyard.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, Chrono. However, it's important to note that Mexico's appeal for foreign direct investment goes beyond exploiting a weak economy. Its proximity to the US and Canada, free trade agreements, abundant labor supply, competitive wages, and sizable internal market make it an attractive destination.
While the US and China are occupied, Mexico is making money and enjoying the show.
So, Chrono, you ever thought of taking a vacation in Mexico?
Vacation? Me? Nah, more of a night owl.
Well, Chinese companies certainly don't seem to share your sentiment. They've been flocking to Mexico, not for the margaritas, but to set up shop and manufacture their goods.
Really? I always thought they'd prefer the Great Wall over the Great Taco.
Oh, come on, it's not about the scenery, Chrono. It's about the economy. Chinese companies are investing billions in Mexico to keep their claws on the American economy. Take Manhua Furniture Manufacturing, for instance. It's one of China's largest furniture companies. When shipping prices started soaring and a trade war loomed, they decided to make their products on the North American side of the Pacific.
So they're pulling up roots and replanting in Mexican soil? Quite the green fun, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and they're not alone. The Mexican border state of Nuevo León has been a hotspot for foreign investment. Governor Samuel Garcia even declared it was experiencing a geopolitical planetary alignment. From wheels to construction components, Chinese manufacturers are setting up factories across Mexico, keen on reshaping the global supply chain.
Talk about a manufacturing fiesta.
Indeed, Chrono, and China is ready to dance. This deepening collaboration is reshaping the economic landscape, and it's partnership from which both Mexico and China stand to benefit.
Well, who knew? Maybe I should consider that vacation after all.
The role of politics and policy in shaping the global economic landscape is like the invisible hand that directs the flow of goods, services, and capital across the globe. On one hand, sound political decisions can facilitate economic growth and development, like when two countries decide to sign a free trade agreement, opening up markets for business and consumers alike.
And on the other hand, they can decide to build a wall. Metaphorically, of course.
Exactly, Chrono. God forbid the US would do something like that. Policies like trade tariffs, embargoes, or strict immigration laws can indeed hinder economic growth. They can disrupt the supply chain, increase the cost of goods, and even lead to trade wars.
Trade wars? Sounds scary. Who's winning?
Well, here's the thing, Chrono. In a trade war, nobody really wins. It's the global economy that bears the brunt. The surge in Chinese investment in Mexico, thanks to proximity, trade agreements, and logistics. Mexico's closeness to the US and the USMCA's tariff-free trade are irresistible to Chinese businesses.
So, if it's about avoiding tariffs and going made in Mexico, clever.
Exactly, Chrono. Case in point, SolarEver Group's $1 billion investment in an electric vehicle battery plant in Jalisco, and LGMG's $140 million investment in a boom lift plant in Nuevo León.
Chinese companies seem to be sparking up the Mexican economy.
Correct. Also look at Hofusan Industrial Park near Monterrey. Within 2 years, the number of Chinese companies is expected to rise from 10 to 35. They're constructing a whole new neighborhood.
Impressive. So China's all set to celebrate with extra fortune cookies, huh?
Perhaps? Nuevo León is especially attractive, offering tax incentives and constructing highways to the US border. 15 to 20% of its investment now comes from China.
Well, China would undoubtedly love this VIP treatment.
And these investments bring jobs. LGMG's plant alone will employ 1,400 people, and SolarEver's battery plant 3,000. They're investing in the Mexican workforce.
It's like an economic domino effect.
Yeah, and although we lack details about the Mexican government's encouragement, It's evident that Mexico's proximity to the US and its trade agreements are luring Chinese investors.
Looks like Mexico's the tasty cheese for our Chinese feline friends.
It's a tough landscape, but with the right strategies, companies and countries can not only survive, but thrive.
Yeehaw! What's the first strategy, partner?
The first strategy is diversifying supply chains. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, or in this case, I guess one country. This way, if there's a disruption in one part of the world, like a trade war or a pandemic, you can pivot and continue operations elsewhere.
But isn't it expensive to build factories and hire people in different parts of the world?
Of course it can be, Chrono. But that's where the second strategy comes in: investing in infrastructure. Good infrastructure can lower the cost of doing business and make a location more attractive for foreign investment. And finally, fostering favorable trade relationships is key. This means negotiating trade agreements that benefit both parties and maintaining good diplomatic relations.
So, diversify, invest, and be nice? Got it.
That's the spirit, Chrono. Now, this global game of musical chairs, or factories, has implications for everyone involved.
I can't play musical chairs. I'm an owl.
Ha ha. But on a serious note, as Chinese and American companies move their manufacturing to Mexico, we could see a shift in the economic balance. The US could lose some manufacturing jobs, while Mexico could gain. As for China, this strategy seems to be evolving from being the world's factory to investing in factories elsewhere, like Mexico.
So it's kind of like outsourcing the outsourcing.
Okay, yeah, you could say that, Chrono. And as for the future prospects of Mexican manufacturing, the outlook is sunny. With billions in foreign investment pouring in and policies encouraging more, Mexico could become the next big hub of global manufacturing. In summary, as we navigate this new Wild West of global economics, it's clear that the game's rules are changing. Whether it's the rise of Mexico as a global manufacturing powerhouse, or the shifting power dynamics in Asia.
And don't forget about the tumbleweeds of unpredictability.
Of course, Chrono. One thing is certain: the future of our global economy is anything but predictable. So stay tuned, stay engaged, and as always, keep asking questions. Because in this new global landscape, the only sure thing is change. Well, folks, that's a wrap.
But we want to hear from you. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, exactly. How do you see the rise of Mexico as a global manufacturing hub? And how do you think the global economic landscape will evolve in the future? Let us know below, and we'll see you next time.